Hey, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you inviting me for this opportunity. So, good afternoon, team. My name is Master Chief Craig Forham. I'm a native of Pensacola, Florida. I've been in the Navy now for 20 years. I've had quite the unique career since I've been in. I'm actually a submariner by trade, so I've spent about 14 years actually on submarines. Made 8 deployments, ranging from I was part of 2001 and then even 2003, the Shock and Awe campaign. I've been attached to 3 different submarines: the USS Providence, SSN 719, the USS Memphis, SSN 691, and of course, I was the chief of the boat, the USS Toledo, the SSN 769. It's been such a wonderful opportunity for me. And then, the Navy's full of so many opportunities. So not only am I a submariner, I'm also a diver as well. I'm a Navy scuba diver, not a 2 Charlie diver or master diver, one of those along those lines. But either way, from there, we've had as far as we'll kind of talk about the diving role, and Navy diving is such a wide field of things you can do for that. We have our, from our range, for what I am, a submarine scuba diver. You have another range where you are a 2 Charlie diver. I think Commander has one online with us here. You also have your 1 Charlie divers and your master divers as well. You also have your EOD diving program or EOD explosive ordnance disposal teams. So the world is really the limit when it comes to the Navy and the things that you can do. It's really the hardest part about that is just figuring out what you want to do inside the Navy with all the opportunities. In the submarine force alone, you can be a reactor operator, or you can be a mechanic or a sonar technician, fire control technician. There's just so many different things and we all have some kind of skill set that blends in quite well with what the opportunities are for the Navy. For instance, if you're someone that loves math skills, for you going the nuclear power program is probably a great thing because there's a lot of math associated with it. If you're someone that loves a hands-on experience of repairing stuff, that's more along my source rating, where you can be a mechanic, where we fix things from valves. So pretty much if it's mechanical and not nuclear, that's what kind of thing I'll do. Then you also have nuclear mechanics that fix all the nuclear mechanical equipment. We also have electricians out there. So, everything you want to do out there. And it's such a great experience. Not only that, you also, for a lot of these things that you get to do, there's so much college credit out there because most of our desires is to go out there, join the Navy and get some type of college experience, and you're going to get that. In fact, for me to get from coming out of high school to getting my associate's degree, I really had to take, with all my Navy credits I had to take 3 college courses. So it's such a wonderful experience, and then you can go further to your bachelor's degree or master's degree as well. So it's a great opportunity. Now we'll talk a little bit about what I know best is the submarine world. So submarines are just an exciting lifestyle. People always ask me, like, hey, Master Chief, like, don't you ever miss the sun? And I would tell you, I don't. It's not something I've ever really missed or longed for. They like to ask me, okay, well, how long do you guys, or what's your longest time being submerged? Well, for me personally, my longest time being submerged was 83 days. And honestly, it's kind of one of those things like with the minutes drag by, with the minutes kind of drag on, but the days just fly by. Before you know it, a week has already passed. So anyways, my longest time submerged was about 83 days. And honestly, we could have, on the ship wide, we could have stayed submerged a lot longer, but we started running low on food, so we had to come up and had to get some replenishments as far as food, because we were getting pretty low, had to get creative with our meals. In like submarines, we do standard deployments like any other company out there. Typically, our deployments are about 6 months, and they sometimes can wind up being about 7 months. And we can go around the world. Most of my career has been spent in the Northern Atlantic, as well as in the Mediterranean and Persian Gulf over there. And I will tell you, people like to ask me, what ports have you been to? At this point, I've been to so many port calls that I tend to forget them, but I've been all over Europe, all the coastal lines in Europe inside the Med. I've been up the Northern Atlantic seaboard. I've been to Dubai and Duqm, Bahrain. So I did the math, and I think I've been to like 16 different countries over 20 years. And it's been quite just an extreme blessing on that one. for those that are interested in going in from the, not going the enlisted standpoint, going to officers, you know, in the submarine force as an officer, it's also a wonderful opportunity. You know, the Navy is such a wonderful place that we will give such young men and women at a very young age an immense amount of responsibility where they can really excel at it. And like anything in the Navy, our job, you know, it's not easy. If you like hard work, we are the place for you. I'll tell you what.
Okay, I'll ask everybody. This is Lieutenant Commander Boer. If you guys go ahead and private message me your questions, and I'll make sure we get them over to the Master Chief. First question comes in: can you dive from submarines?
So, what a great question. And answer is yes. We have on our system, we do some special ops stuff, depending on kind of like what boat you're on. We have our DSRV systems, our SEAL delivery units out there, and we'll do things where we call them lockout, where we can actually take a SEAL team while we're submerged, or a special force team while we're submerged. We can exit them out of the ship. They can go off and do their mission. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. And it's a pretty interesting event to do that. I actually had the opportunity, as being a diver, I was part of the team that helped them get out of the ship. I didn't lead the ship personally. I just stayed inside the lockout chamber. But you know, I would help them get out of lockout chamber with their equipment, and I'd help them return back when it came time from there. It's a very risky evolution because submarines can go a lot deeper than people can, exposed to sea pressure. But the ship practices it a lot. The special forces team practices a lot of plans to make that happen, and it is an exciting thing. And you can look at some. There's some great videos on YouTube out there of some of the special ops people doing what they do outside the submarine. So thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. I got a question on my feed right here. Somebody asked me, you can be an electrician with my high school trade. So yes, you can be an electrician in the Navy. That's for the submarine force electricians, they are nuclear power electricians because they work a primary plant operation and stuff like that. So the training pipeline to become an electrician in the submarine force, it's actually quite long, to be honest with you. From the time you join the Navy and you got to your first, well, either aircraft carrier or submarine, it'll take you close to 2 years. The Navy's gonna spend a lot of time training you for that. So thank you for that question.
Can you actually pick up divers through the torpedo slot?
The answer is, I don't think so. I mean, in theory you could, but we don't really have procedures for that. Yeah, and then honestly, those torpedo tubes, they're really about as wide as my shoulders. So you would struggle to get inside a torpedo tube with an SCBA or with a diving pack on your back, and you wouldn't really fit with the equipment in there. So in theory, yes, but it would be challenging to do that.
Okay. What is your scariest diving story?
Oh, so this is funny. Again, I'm a submarine diver, so most of my diving's been on submarines doing maintenance, underwater maintenance on it. But we were moored in Port Canaveral, Florida, replacing a piece of underwater equipment. And as I'm around there, a bunch of barracuda just really honed in on my tank. They love flashy stuff. So I'm back there trying to replace this pit sword, and the barracuda kept coming in and hacking at my secondary or my primary regulator back here. It was that was very interesting. I actually stopped my maintenance and got out of the water to get the barracuda out of there because it got to the point where I started to feel a little uncomfortable about it. There's been a couple very interesting things that I've got to do at diving on submarines. So thank you for that question.
What has been your favorite experience in the military so far?
I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than when you get to come home from deployment and see your kids. It is a wonderful thing. I've always enjoyed that, the homecoming. It's always, obviously, on the other hand, it's very hard to leave. But one of the neatest experiences I had was after 2001, after the September 11th attacks, my command, we were already in the Red Sea, and we were part of the initial salvo of the retaliatory strikes. And on our way back, we were definitely limping in on food. Is we moored next to the Emory S Land, which is a submarine tender. And when we did that, the entire crew manned the rails. So I'm standing topside looking at this, and it was just it was such an honor to see all my shipmates from a different command honor us as we came back in to port, and they manned the rails wearing their whites. It was a great thing.
So what has been your greatest leadership challenge, and how did you overcome it?
So when it comes to leadership, people are so much different than equipment. So as a mechanic, you have this thing that's wrong, and you can go in and you can troubleshoot it. Okay, oh, it's this valve is messed up, replace the valve, you can fix that. Or it's always a very simple process. But with people, there's no one solution to the problem. The Navy is we're such a diverse community, and people problems they're such a big thing. So when it comes to leadership, you really have to stop, not talk, and really listen to that sailor or that individual's problems and ask questions so you can fully understand their background, what's really going on, and delve into that. Because there's really no one size fits all solution when it comes to people's problems. And conversely though, with people's problems, they're all very similar there's very similar categories, but they're never the exact same. So you have to listen and really understand how to help that sailor get through some kind of problem that they're having. And, you can always find a solution. Sometimes you got to be creative about it, but, particularly in this COVID era we're having right now, one of the tough things we have is we have single parents, and our CDC, our child care centers are closed. So we had to get creative how to make sure that our sailor can still work while doing their parental responsibilities. So it's just kind of come up with creative solutions for people. And that's what is very challenging, people problems compared to mechanical problems. So thank you for that question.
So we won't ask why, but I do have the question here. What has been your favorite port?
I really enjoy La Maddalena, Italy. It is such a beautiful town to go into. You get that real Italian vintage in there, and it's a small community, so the community is very welcoming. And then the food in Italy is it's fantastic. They make the best calzones you'll ever have. So if I go back to La Maddalena or even Scotland, I really enjoy going to Scotland. And Scotland was really nice because one, it's a beautiful place to visit, and two, the locals, we all speak the same language, different dialects, but the same language. So you can sit there, you can have a conversation with people and learn a lot about their cultures. So I would say Scotland and Italy are probably two of my favorites. Thank you for that question.
All right. Why did you go Navy versus any of the other services?
I've asked myself that question. Honestly, what it came down to for me was the Navy was the very first recruiter that talked to me, and they talked about the nuclear power program, and it really appealed to me. So where I think that, all the other services are also very noble in what they do, and they're very good. For me, the Navy is a great fit because I'm a mechanical person by trade, where I like to work on things. So for me, the Navy is a very natural fit, and that's why I picked the Navy.
Okay, Petty Officer Desmond wants to know, if you can describe the Navy in one word, what would it be?
Life-changing, which I guess is 2 words.
It's hyphenated. We'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an airlock system on submarines where a smaller craft can leave from the submarine?
So yes, there is. You can go look at pictures. We call it lockout chambers. So if you ever see pictures of submarines, they have that thing. We only have 2 submarines now that are capable of doing it. But there's we put like a little camelback on the top of it, and the special ops can drive submersible vehicles into it. So it does exist, and that's actually what I got to work inside of as a diver when we were helping the SEALs execute this was a helping them execute their training operations. So it's neat because it's kind of what it is. It's like almost like a half bell. It's kind of circular shape like this, but the top's cut off. So down here, it's exposed, there's water, but up here there's an air pocket. So your head and stuff's working up here, and all the equipment's down here, and the divers get in the machine and they go out and they take off on it. So yeah, that does exist.
How long would it take you to sail around the world in a submarine?
So I've never actually circumnavigated the world before. I know that I made it from Groton, Connecticut to the Persian Gulf, which is having to go through the Suez Canal. We made that in 7 days. So I imagine we can do it pretty quickly. And I've heard that it takes about 14 days to get from San Diego to Hawaii. So I would imagine in 30 days you could make it, but that's just me guessing. Don't quote me on that. I don't really know for sure. And of course, the challenge would be is getting around North America and South America. You have to either go up through the Arctic, which is going under ice, which is a challenge, very, very fun thing to do. Or you have to go all the way down around South America, which is not very efficient. You would really waste your fuel source on that. Or you have to go through the canal there in South America. So you got to pick a route and go that way from it.
From Petty Officer Gabriel in Boise, Idaho. What is the bunking and food like, and what are your days usually like?
So bunking is an interesting experience. I was the Cobb on my last command. So ultimately on a fast boat, a Los Angeles class submarine, the crew size is about 140 people. On deployment, we had about 180 people, but we only had 105 racks on board the ship. So we do what you call hot racking. So what we'll do is we'll assign 3 people to 2 racks, and there's always one of those 3 people on watch. We go by 3 sections, section 1, 2, and 3. So ultimately, there's always a rack available, but you might have to rotate racks every other day to do it. And what you do is you go in there, when you get up, you take your sheets out, you stow them, and the next person will get in and stow their sheets in there. So it sounds a little draconian, but it's actually not that bad. You get used to it. Now, also we put bunks down in the torpedo room as well, so we can make some extra racks down there. But now if you sleep in the torpedo room, you don't have a lot of overhead space. Most of the racks inside of berthing, you have, I would say, about 30 inches between your chest and the rack above you, because they're 3 high. But in the torpedo room, you only have really about 16 inches between you and the equipment above you. So if you want to see like kind of get up and shoot out in your sleep, you're gonna knock your head a little bit and maybe get some stitches from it. But again, it's something you get used to. And then if you get to sleep in the torpedo room, it's kind of cool because you get to sleep next to a torpedo or a Tomahawk. So it's kind of fun. So thanks for that question. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry, the food. So the food is actually really good. I tell you, our CSs do a great job with the ability. We eat 3 times a day. We serve a meal every 8 hours currently, but they'll put snacks out in between so you don't, because 8 hours can be a long time to go. But they do a really good job. And of course, my favorite meal on the submarines is burger day. Usually on Fridays, we'll do burgers, and it's always a fun thing. And then on Saturday nights, we do pizza night where the cooks make pizzas. So I'd say the food's pretty decent. And if you're not careful, you could put some pounds on, I'll tell you what. So thank you for that question.
How many days of fuel does a completely fueled submarine have?
So keep in mind that a nuclear power submarine is just that it's nuclear. So you're not talking days of fuel, you're talking years of fuel. So ultimately a submarine, depending on the core life, can go about 20 years without having to change the fuel out of it. We call it effective power hours. And then we have the ability we call it a reactor swap out, change the fuel cells out. So again, we can pretty much, for the most part, we can go indefinitely down there. And then, we very closely monitor how much fuel we're using so we can make sure that we can get the lifetime out of the ship out of that. With the newer ships, they're actually designed for a 35-year core. So in theory, those ships will never have to refuel. So, which minimizes the maintenance time, downtime for the submarine, so it can continue to do forward deployed operations.
Chief Petty Officer Sea Cadets Wagner, the Flying Tiger Squadron in Indiana, wants to know, how do you deal with the lack of sunlight, and what kind of health problems arise when a submarine is underway?
Honestly, you stay extremely busy when you're underway. You don't really notice the fact that you haven't seen the sun. Because what happens on day to day is when you get underway, you're going to be part of a watch section, depending on what your job is, depending on where you go. But you're going to stand 8 hours of watch, and then you're going to get off a watch. You're going to go eat. You're going to go eat, and then you're going to go and do your little after watch cleanup, about 30 minutes. Make sure we keep the ship clean, and from there you're going to move into your actual primary job. You're going to do some maintenance or do some training along those lines, stuff like that. And then if you have time, you'll burn it, you'll watch a movie. We call it burn a flick. You'll burn a flick on cruise mess, or you'll play card games, stuff like that. But you really don't miss it unless you're actually claustrophobic, then you might notice. But for the most part, I've never seen anybody get down there and just freak out underway from being in an enclosed space. again, you don't really know because you can't feel it when you go under, when you submerge the ship. It's not like the pressure of the ship actually changes. Everything still feels like you're on the surface, except the ship doesn't rock anymore. So thank you for that question.
Is there a gym on the submarine?
Oh, thank you for that one. So the answer is no, but there's a but. But what we do have is this is for Los Angeles classes. The Tridents do have a gym, but I've never been stationed on the Trident, so I can't confidently talk about that too much. But on the 688s, we have a treadmill, we have an exercise bike, we have a rowing machine, and we have some of those little like Bowflex weights, little adjusted dial weights in there. And then we have all kinds of bars and stuff like that to pull ups. So, if workout's part of your lifestyle, you can very well you can still maintain that on a submarine. You just have to be a little creative. We also use a lot of TRX as well, which is your own weight training, which is band training. So it's available out there for you.
All right. How many subs have you been on? And is it true that they have an oxygen candle for when submerged?
What a great question. Okay, so me personally, I've been stationed on 3 different submarines. Now, for the oxygen candle, we absolutely do have oxygen candles. Those are really more of our emergency supply. So what we do underway is we make our own oxygen. We on a 688, it's called an oxygen generator. And what that does is we take pure water, pure distilled water, and we put it to an electrolysis process where we separate the oxygen and the hydrogen. We take the hydrogen and we discharge that overboard, and we keep the oxygen in the ship for our air consumption. Now, we do have oxygen cannons. We have a lot of them, which we keep for disc sub, or sometimes we get behind an oxygen and you can burn those. And yeah, it's a very true thing. They're a lot of fun. It's a very messy event to have to use those. So thank you for that.
Seaman Recruit Bullard wants to know, can you get seasick underwater?
The answer is yes, but if it's I've been through 2 hurricanes in my lifetime, and for hurricanes, the surface ships, they'll go and leave the area, but the submarines will stay, and we'll just go deep, and we'll stay deep. But like in a hurricane at 500 feet, you're still getting tossed around pretty good. But that's pretty abnormal. But really, when people do get seasick, it's in our inbound and outbound transit. So, when we leave port, we have to drive quite a while to get to water deep enough where we actually submerge the ship. And because a submarine is, it's a teardrop shape, it's kind of round in front and goes back. If it's a heavy seat state out there, you'll take 20-degree rolls side to side. And then I've seen not many people, but some people do get seasick on occasion, but it's coming. So they'll take Dramamine, which usually manages that. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Well, Master Chief, I want to thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and your knowledge, your answering the leadership questions and all the submarine questions. And I know everybody wishes we could keep going for another half hour, but I've got to get to our next guy. So again, thank you. Feel free to hang out and watch the rest if you want. Any parting words before we take off?
Thank you very much for your time and listening to me. I will tell you, for those of you interested in joining the Navy, what a great life-changing opportunity that you can do as a young man and woman to get so much responsibility. Find what you like and then go talk to your recruiter and really, really delve down into that. Or if you want to be an officer, again, find the program you want to like, whether you want to fly or go to nuclear engineering, and find that and, go make that happen. And obviously, the better you do in school, the more likely you'll get accepted to the more challenging jobs out there. So thank you all for your time and have a wonderful day.
Excellent. So now to talk about the other portion of our Navy diver program, we have with us one of my former cadets from the Battleship Missouri Hawaii Division, Navy diver Evan Hauptman. Can you tell us about the training to become a Navy diver?
So boot camp you'll be in an 800 division in Chicago, Illinois with boot camp. About the 800 division, how you have to wake up about 2 hours early, and you'll go work out at a pool. And so you'll have to do that. In boot camp, you'll wake up, about 2 hours early, go do that. And you'll still have to do your watches and stuff at nighttime for boot camp. So you get a little bit less sleep, but it's not too bad. And then after boot camp, after you graduate boot camp, then you'll go to CEOD, which is Central for Explosive Ordnance Disposal and Diving, and that is still in Chicago. It's just on the base right across the street. So you'll do about 7 to 8 weeks of SEAD, and you'll start off with 4 weeks of BEC, which is Basic Engineering Common Core, and it's an online class. You still got to go to the schoolhouse and you do your workouts in the morning. Go to the to another schoolhouse on the other side of base. You have to march over there, and you'll start with Basic Engineering Common Core, which they teach you like engineering skills, how to use tools and stuff like that. So you'll go through that class for about 4 weeks, and then once you graduate that class, you'll have 4 tests throughout that class, one every single week. The tests aren't too hard, and then once you're finally finished with the 4 weeks and all the 4 tests, then you'll get a certification saying you completed that course, and then you'll start with 2 weeks of pool week, which you're going to go through. It's called IWPs, which are in-water procedures. You'll be doing lots of weighted treads with about 25 to 30 pounds with fins on. You'll have fins, but you'll also be doing lots of treading without fins just to kind of get you comfortable and used to the water. You'll have to pass all these in-water procedures where you'll have twin 80s on your back, which are the scuba tanks we wear, the double ones that are connected that you strap on your back. And you got to do like a 3-minute tread with them. They'll be splashing you, and you got to do like checks on your dive buddy that's in the water with you. You go down and check their harnesses and make sure there's no kinks or anything like that, and make sure their straps are properly on. So if you pass that, then you'll get a plane ticket to go to Panama City, Florida. So I started off in the Navy about 2 years ago. I joined in May of 2018, and I went to boot camp May 29th. I graduated in July, and then I finished prep in September. We were on holds till February of the next year because of the hurricane in Panama City, Florida. So I didn't get to Panama City till February 29th. And so, yeah, if you're lucky, you'll get to class up right away. And I know a bunch of guys that got classed up like they took the plane down there and they classed up within days. So if you're lucky, you'll class up. But if you're like me and you got put on holds, then you'll be in this training team 9, which you'll just be working out in the morning. And yeah, you'll just be working out in the morning and going to lunch and pretty much done with the day. So training team 9 wasn't too bad. And then so once you finally class up, you'll start about 2 to 3 weeks of just working out. So they'll take you on long runs. You'll be doing about 2 workouts a day. So the first one in the morning, you'll be getting to the schoolhouse at around 6 in the morning, standing at attention, just waiting to go work out. And you'll do a land PT in the morning. Usually could be like 5 to 6 mile runs, lots of pull-ups, lots of dips, lots of chin-ups, all the calisthenics. You'll be doing lots of push-ups too, so burpees and bear crawls, and then you'll come back to the schoolhouse, and it'll be about 2 hours worth of PT. You'll come back to the schoolhouse, and then you'll be doing classroom time. So you'll be learning about. So the first test they give you is diving physics, which is like it's going to be lots of math involved. You got to calculate bottom times, and you got to calculate lots of like descent, ascent times. All that is going to be involved with the diving physics. So you'll be doing classroom time from about maybe like 8 till about 1:30 to 2, and then you'll start your next workout, which is going to be a pool PT. So they'll bring you to the pool. There's 2 pools at NDSTC, Naval Diving Salvage Training Center. There's a 40-foot pool, which you'll dives in later on in the course, and then there's about a 12-foot normal pool, which is where you'll be doing your water PT. You don't start diving so you'll get to a pool week, which is about 3 weeks in, and that's when you actually start diving with. You'll put the same twin 80s that you had on in dive prep, but you could not dive with the twin 80s in prep. this is like the first time you're diving throughout the whole course, is about 3 weeks into dive school, and then you'll be in pool week, and then you get to start diving. So like the first few hours of the first time you put them on, they'll just teach you about it. They'll show you, just to kind of get you comfortable with it, with the regulator and like taking your mask off underwater while you're breathing. There's something called a ditch and don, where you have to take off all your gear and you got to take off all your gear at the bottom, go to the surface, exhale, slowly go to the surface, and then you're going to take 2 breaths and then come back and start breathing on your air and have to put it back on. So they'll just kind of give you a feel for it. After that is when it's called pool hits. That's when they start, which you'll have an instructor. So the first pool hits that start are called light hits. An instructor will come down, just kind of beat you up underwater. You know, he'll remove your regulator, toss you around a bit. He'll undo your straps, and you just kind of gotta hold your breath and slowly exhale bubbles, and just kind of calm yourself down and be able to retrieve all your stuff and be able to work your put it all together and be able to give him the okay, and he'll pass you. So it starts off with light hits, then moderate hits is just a little bit more excessive, and then heavy hits are the last ones they'll do for scuba. And once you pass that, then you'll start moving into surface applied diving, so it's called the Mark 20s, which is you have an umbilical running from your hat to the surface, to these air banks, which the name of those air banks is called the ASRA. You got 9 big bottles, and they supply you air at about, so it's about 5,000 psi, and then it goes through a regulator, turns it into about 110 psi for the Mark 20s. You'll be moving on to the Mark 20s next, and then after that, you'll go to the big yellow helmets you see lots of like commercial divers wear. It's called the KM37s, which you can go a lot deeper in those than with the Mark 20s, which is kind of just a face mask. So the KM37s, you do 190-foot dives in those. So that's the deepest you'll go. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. It happens from time to time. Wait till you turn my age, right?
Yeah.
Real quick for you, did your Sea Cadet experience prepare you at all for what you found on active duty?
Yes, definitely. So, I did Sea Cadets for about 2 years. I joined when I was about 16, and so Sea Cadet boot camp definitely helped me for Navy boot camp. I noticed that a lot. Like a lot of other guys were kind of struggling a little bit, but for me, I already kind of knew what to do. Like definitely the 11 General Orders, the Sailor's Creed, and all the marching, like the different moves, like at attention, being able to stand at attention for a long time, definitely helped me out.
So if you had, we got a lot of cadets out there that want to be Navy divers. What advice would you give them, while they're in high school right now or while they're in middle school? What would you tell them to do academically and physically to prepare to become a Navy diver?
Really, so you'll take about 12 tests in dive school, and they'll be teaching you everything you need to know. Flashcards definitely help me academically, so make a bunch of flashcards, and there's going to be a little bit of math. It's not very hard math. It's just stuff you got to calculate and bottom times and all that. So being good, I guess, with math and just learning how to study, because you'll be taking a test every single week the whole time you're there. So just being able to just study and write flashcards and all that definitely helped me out. I love flashcards. And then
so how about the PT? Yeah.
Yes, for physically, running, definitely run. A lot of guys, they're not very good runners, so you'll be running like 5-6 miles on some of the longer runs. So without you'll stop to hydrate a little bit, but you'll just be running the whole time. So definitely work on running. And then pull-ups. A lot of guys failed the what's called the PSTs, which you have to do 6 pull-ups, like no kipping from a dead hang all the way up to your chins over the bar 6 times. So a lot of guys got kicked out because they couldn't do many pull-ups. So definitely pull-ups and running are like the 2 biggest things I would recommend working on. And of course, all the other stuff like push-ups. Definitely work on your push-ups. And then one of the biggest things is being able to tread water and swimming. I would definitely work on finning with fins and weight. Just try to do it for like 3 minutes with like, start off maybe with like 10 pounds and just slowly increase your weight until you maybe can get up to like 25 pounds, 30 pounds for at least 3 minutes. So
What do you think is we got a question from a cadet. What is the hardest PT exercise in your opinion?
the hardest, I would say, so we used to do lots of bear crawls. I would just say endless bear crawls was probably the hardest thing.
Okay. What was the longest time that you had to do PT? Like the longest PT session they put you through?
Probably about 2 hours. They wouldn't really go above 2 hours for a workout.
Awesome.
So
Well, we have reached the end of our time limit here. Thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Hout. I can't call you Cadet Houtman anymore. It's still getting used to that. Thank you so much for your service and for joining the Navy.